Right now, as you stare at your screen, you are participating in what might be the greatest collective hallucination in human history. We have been sold a seductive story about the cloud, a fluffy, weightless, ethereal realm where our photos, emails, and bank accounts float in a digital heaven somewhere above the stratosphere. It sounds clean, it sounds magical, and it is almost entirely a lie. The internet isn't a ghost, it isn't a frequency, and it definitely isn't floating in the air. The internet is a physical, heavy, vibrating, and surprisingly wet megastructure. It is a machine made of millions of tons of copper, steel, and glass that we have wrapped around the planet like a ball of yarn. If you could reach through your screen and physically pull the thread that connects you to this text, you wouldn't find a beam of light shooting into space. You would find a dirty, armored garden hose resting in the mud at the bottom of the ocean. To truly understand the internet, we have to stop looking up at the sky and start looking down, under the pavement and into the dark, cold abyss of the sea. About 97% of all intercontinental data travels through submarine fiber optic cables. There are roughly 550 of them stretching across the ocean floor like the roots of a giant, global tree. These aren't high-tech space-age tubes. They are essentially very long, very expensive ropes made of steel, plastic, and tar, protecting a core of glass fibers no thicker than a human hair. Despite what Elon Musk or the satellite industry might want you to believe, satellites are barely a rounding error in global traffic. They handle less than 3% of the load. They are the backup plan for the backup plan. The real heavy lifting is done by these cables that lie unguarded on the seabed, exposed to earthquakes, underwater landslides, and the sheer crushing pressure of the deep. And here is where it gets dangerous. These cables don't just carry light. They carry lethal amounts of electricity. To push a laser signal from New York to London, you need amplifiers, called repeaters, every 50 miles. These repeaters need power. So, alongside the delicate glass strands, we pump about 10,000 volts of electricity through the copper sheathing of the cable. The internet is effectively a high-voltage lightning bolt sitting at the bottom of the ocean. This aquatic infrastructure is actually a relic of the Victorian era. In 1858, a man named Cyrus Field decided to lay the first transatlantic telegraph cable. It was a disaster. The cables snapped, the ships were battered by storms, and they lost miles of expensive wire in the Atlantic. When they finally connected Ireland to Newfoundland, the world went crazy. Parades were held in New York. Fireworks set City Hall on fire. But the connection was terrible. The first message, a greeting from Queen Victoria to President Buchanan, took 17 hours to transmit. A few weeks later, an overzealous engineer decided to pump more voltage into the line to speed it up, and he literally cooked the cable. It fried. The internet died in 1858. But we learned. Today, Google and Meta charter massive ships to lay cables along those exact same 19th century routes. The information superhighway is literally just a very fast version of a tin can phone stretched across the Atlantic, protected by layers of Kevlar because, for reasons marine biologists still don't fully understand, sharks love to bite them. We are currently defending your ability to stream 4K video from the teeth of great whites using bulletproof vests wrapped around glass. But the fragility doesn't end at the shore. Once these cables crawl out of the ocean at landing stations, which often look like unassuming concrete shacks near the beach, they enter the terrestrial network. This is where the internet becomes real estate. In every major city, there is a building known as a carrier hotel. These are the most important buildings you have never noticed. In New York, it's 60 Hudson Street. In Los Angeles, it's 1 Wilshire. These are windowless, fortress-like skyscrapers where the physical wires of Verizon literally plug into the physical wires of Netflix. The security in these places is tighter than most airports. You have to pass through man-traps, airlock-style doors where you are weighed and scanned to ensure you are the same person entering and leaving. Inside, it is deafening. The sound of thousands of cooling fans creates a permanent industrial scream. If you pulled the plug on 60 Hudson Street, the internet for a huge chunk of the eastern seaboard would simply vanish. And despite all our talk of green tech, These buildings stay alive using the most old-school technology imaginable, massive basement reservoirs of diesel fuel and engines the size of locomotives, ready to burn fossil fuels the second the grid flickers. This brings us to the final destination, the data center. When you save to the cloud, you are actually saving to a hard drive spinning at 7,000 revolutions per minute in a warehouse in Prineville, Oregon, or Ashburn, Virginia. Ashburn is known as Data Center Alley, and roughly 70% of the world's internet traffic flows through this one specific patch of dirt in Northern Virginia. These facilities are monsters of consumption. A single hyperscale data center can use as much electricity as a small city. But their biggest enemy isn't hackers, it's heat. Processors are just rocks that we tricked into thinking, and when they think hard, they get hot. To keep them from melting into a puddle of silicon, we have to blast them with air conditioning. This requires water, millions of gallons of it. In some desert locations, data centers consume more water than the local agriculture. We are effectively trading our rivers and our aquifers for the ability to scroll through memes at 3 a.m. The most terrifying part of this physical reality is how easily it can break. We think the internet is invincible, but it is absurdly vulnerable to physical accidents. In 2011, a 75-year-old Georgian woman was digging for copper scrap in her garden with a spade. She accidentally sliced through a fiber optic cable buried just a few feet underground. In one distinct snip, she single-handedly cut off the internet for the entire country of Armenia and parts of Georgia. For hours, millions of people were disconnected because one grandmother had a shovel. In 2008, ship anchors cut cables in the Mediterranean, slashing connectivity to Egypt and India. The internet survives not because it is a magical cloud, but because it is a redundant, patched-together mesh of wires. It breaks constantly, and an army of invisible engineers is constantly splicing it back together. Ultimately, the internet is the most massive physical artifact humanity has ever constructed. It is a machine made of copper mined from the earth in Chile, lithium extracted from the salt flats of Bolivia, and glass fibers melted from sand and protected by the same tar and steel used in the Industrial Revolution. It is a 1.4 million kilometer web of vibrating sand resting in the dark, cold mud of the abyss. Every click you make triggers a physical chain reaction that involves lasers, sharks, Victorian shipping routes, high-voltage electricity, and diesel engines. It's not magic, it's just the most complex plumbing system ever built. The internet doesn't float, it moves, it heats up, it consumes energy, and it occupies space. It's not a cloud, it's a vibrating, armored nervous system buried in the dirt. So next time your Wi-Fi lags, don't look at the sky. Look at the ground. That's where the magic is actually happening.